never say it's over if I'm breathing. Racing to the moonlight and I'm speeding. I'm headed to the stars, ready to go far and start walking. Don't ever say it's over if I'm breathing. Racing to the moonlight and I'm speeding. I'm headed to the stars, ready to go far and start walking.
Welcome back, everyone, to Worlds 2022 in the State Farm Analyst Desk. We're preparing for Flying Oyster to take on RNG in our next bout of the day. Let's start with the fact that Oyster has impressed us. They kicked things off with a win, smashing their way to the top of the group, but it's all about whether or not they can continue that momentum into the series today.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really impressed with how well the CFO have been able to get their early game under control. We saw them being quite slow in their home region, where it was more about building these lane advantages for themselves through their CS and trying to play through that stall. But instead, what we've seen them really kick up a gear is this early aggression, where they've been able to get these kills and work through that, and it's been fantastic to see.
And you caught a glimpse of Shunn there. A lot of their win was off the back end of impressive Kai'Sa play. Once set up by the team, he comes through with the ultimates, lays down that late game carry damage. We're going to look for a performance like that out of him if he wants to take down RNG.
Because that's the problem. You talk good Kai'Sa performances. I still have nightmares from GALA for the last two MSIs, and I think RNG improved so much, but I'll give it to you, Jack, because you've been a believer since the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a bone to pick with Dagda, actually.
Pick that bone.
Didn't think that they would win on day one after seeing them improve throughout all of play-ins, win MSI, and also go 13-3 in the summer split. Why did you have such low faith in RNG?
There's an idea in the LPL called don't poison the milk, all right? And that's it. You don't talk about what's happening for these teams because you don't want to overpraise them, because that's when they fall. So this is why coming into this game, I was like, look, I can't actually praise RNG because I talk about they're going to win. There's not a hope in hell they're going to be able to beat Gen G. You have to put them in their place. You have to make them humble, and then that's where they can pop off. But honestly, really impressive stuff from RNG, right? The ability to actually control the early game. Ming was all over the place. They looked fantastic.
They did. I think you're doing some double talk here, because if they lose, you're like, oh yeah, to the fourth seed.
I am the RNG man, all right? I have been with this team since the beginning. I am not going to turn my back on them. I know what I need to do to get them to win Worlds,
Did we get that on camera?
Just briefly, I'm sorry, I'm still struggling to get past don't poison the milk as like a regional thing.
RNG?
Don't poison the milk anywhere.
I thought it was
fair.
I thought it was
if you want to have an Irish accent, by the way, this is a pronunciation tip.
You say
Just say RNG.
I don't know why you sound like a pirate, whatever you're saying.
Congratulations, you're now an LPL
RNG.
master.
I'm RNG.
Say RNG.
I'm with
RNG.
I always thought it was an orange
but
G,
But
not
Jack,
an E.
I also want, just as equally, I want to understand why you're so confident. Top of the day, you said LPL 4 seed equals #1, but like, I mean, come on.
Because this is my philosophy for Worlds, that the playoffs patch was bad for RNG. If you look holistically at the year, they went 12-4 spring, 1 MSI, 13-3 summer, trending upwards, only lost 2 best-of-5s to EDG, and then made it here to Worlds. So I still think this is the, like, it's actually one patch off of going for a golden road that they used to talk about. Like, that's the level that they're almost at, but people have discounted them coming into Worlds.
And I think the big reason we had discounted them was, as Chad is kind of pointing out, you know, Enchanter supports, where the hell is Ming supposed to go and play? Like, this guy, we saw him against Gen G, how he'd roam around the map, and that's why when you look at your screen, this is where we're seeing these big early game leads, like the first Herald, the first Towers, the massive gold difference. A huge portion of that was the 75% kill participation that Ming had at the 14-minute mark. He popped off roaming, and that was what was missing so heavily from RNG's game plan.
And quite obviously, for both of those squads, those early leads they built were integral to getting their first wins on the board here in the group stage. But the reality is, when you go up against each other, one of those numbers is going to turn negative. You can't both be in the lead through the early game. So my question to you, Chronicler, is, of these two teams, which one do you think it is more important for the early game to go their way?
Probably for Flying Oyster, because if you don't win the early game against RNG, I don't think it's happening. I don't see it. So you gotta get in early and make sure that you get it done.
Well, as you can see here, the teams are diving into Champion Select. So it's RNG on one side of the table, it's CFO on the other. We're back over to the casters to get into Champ Select.
Thank you so much, Analyst Desk, and welcome to the casters. Quick shot, Azale and Lyric bringing you game 5 of the day, and listen to the LPL fans chanting RNG, or the fans of the the LPL. That's a better way of saying it. I'm going to come to you, Lyric, first. RNG surprised the world. They took down Genji in pretty convincing fashion, and now the expectation is they'll be able to do the same thing again.
Yeah, and we've been seeing them do it through a lot of early aggression. RNG have actually been playing a lot faster than I expected them to so far at Worlds, and also a ton coming from Wei. His Graves absolutely popped off against Genji, so I think really good look by CFO to take that one away.
And you can't disrespect CFO. You know, this is one of those teams that I think a lot of people don't know as much about, so they're, you know, naturally won't be expecting them to be as big of a threat. But they showed that they are world class, you know, already took down their first game. This is a team that you definitely can't underestimate. I think especially on comfort. I do think taking away the Azir from Mission makes a lot of sense. You know, that is extreme comfort for him. I'm interested to see if he is just going to go then to the Viktor or something like that, where he really does excel.
I particularly like seeing the Graves and the Aatrox banned away. Breathe has got Aatrox out like 5 of the games he's played between play-ins and now group stage. Wei has obliterated anything in front of his shotgun on that Graves, and the pivot's going to be the Viego.
And I actually love this pick because not only is this a Wei staple, but this was Gemini's most played champion in PCS Summer Split. A lot of actually shared champions between these two teams, kind of barring that mid lane pick that you were just hitting on.
I have this memory, correct me if I'm wrong though, but I think Dagda was flaming Wei's Viego at one point. Am I misremembering?
No,
at MSI?
you are definitely not misremembering. But
He's
Wei
still hovering.
Oh? No ways, no ways. It's gonna be a pivot. We don't talk pivots, we don't talk pivots. Why did Dagda hate Wei's Viego? Remind me.
You know, Wei might have had a rough time back at MSI when the team was still trying to figure out how to play with Finn. But this RNG Trevor looking way different. But I'm always up for calling out Dagda.
Well, and Viego, I do think just works so well for a lot of the LPL style where you are going skirmish heavy. Because if you can get that first reset, you often just run over the fight automatically, right? We are back towards the Viktor here again, as expected. You know, Mission loves playing the control mages, does have a relatively small champion pool, hasn't been punished for it in the first game, so I'm interested to see what Xiaohu will bring out here and how they want to play around it. If Xiaohu will just look to go elsewhere, or if he's going to try to pick for the 1v1. Xiaohu Lissandra, though, one of my favorite picks for this guy. He never disappoints.
Second most played champion all summer long, 12 games, of which he's won 8. And I just want to explain to all the viewers, the reason Rammus was hovered, we play a badass Rammus music video here in venue, and everyone was bopping along to that track. I think the players enjoying it as well. I will say, RNG and Flying Oysters taking their time this drop, really contemplative of every single pick. But the theme is clear. If it's not blue, it don't fly for RNG.
Yeah, and this was actually exactly...
That's where you go.
This was exactly what I expected RNG to lock in third. Going with the Aphelios, going to do fine in that bot lane matchup. And again, just going straight towards comfort. Now for CFO, I mean, Poppy's been incredibly strong so far.
Absolutely has, right? You know, you can interrupt the dash there, you know, from the Viego potentially, but I don't think it's like that amazing of a pick into what we've seen over on the other side thus far. But the theme continues. It's actually blue is all picking blue champions, red is all picking red champions.
I love this. This is next level. What does this mean for phase 2? More seriously though, Gemini's Poppy has been played 5 times this year. He is undefeated on the pick with a 7 KDA. So there is some level of comfort, some level of understanding. All 5 of the games were in summer, so it's recent as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It does give them a lot of playmaking, the ability to disengage some of what is likely to be a lot of engage from RNG. Generally, when they do go engage heavy, you know, they like to overload it. They like to really pile in and try to find these team fights. You know, Viego, Lissandra are going to be diving in. If you can reject one of those people out, you can potentially keep Shunn safe on the Tristana, or potentially keep Mission safe on that Viktor, because they are going to need a lot of peel here based on what they're drafting.
Exactly. I think it's all about the disengage, why they go with that one. And you know Koala's going to pick up and engage support. Koala actually in the PCS is one of the players who wasn't leaning towards things like the Yuumi or any of the enchanters, so RNG have clearly done their research with the bans they're throwing out.
Can I tell you what the numbers are this? When I look at Koala's games all year long, his most played is Nautilus with 24 games and an 87% win ratio. Do you want to know what the next most played is? Tom Kench at 8. It goes from 24 to 8. So a lot of comfort and a lot of preference on that style.
Honestly, I'm not too surprised. We even have quite a few supports like that in the LPL. Heck, he's going up against one Ming, very much in the same boat. And now for the side of CFO, they could look for their support here. Things like the Alistar still up in Nautilus there, or the Amumu actually just going to be locked in right away.
Yeah, just straight up locking in the Amumu there. So they do have a lot of AoE lockdown. You know, it's not with the MF, which is traditionally where we see the pairing, but there is a lot of AoE damage here with the Viktor as well. GALA, I think, having a little bit of fun hovering the MF. Now the Amumu has already been locked in.
Oh, blind pick Fiora. Come on. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
I think
7
they do it,
games,
Trevor.
6 wins. It's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for Breathe, he hasn't been one of these top laners that likes to blind pick things like the Ornn or tankier champions. He feels comfortable going straight into that 1v1 matchup up in topside, especially when he knows he has Xiaohu on Lissandra that can help him out.
Absolutely, and Rest, is not a guy I think to really bring out the Jacks, and picks like that. He mostly has been an R guy. He is, a big carry for the team, and most people do look at him as their big star. But again, I was expecting heavy engage from RNG once they went for Viego, Lissandra. You add in the Fiora, you add in the Sett. There's just an overload of melee champions that are going to be flying in. I do actually really like the Kennen here potentially as an answer, because when you have 4 melee champions, well, Lissandra's not melee, but she's going to be all stacked up, right? The counter engage can be so powerful from the Kennen. If you could actually find that big Amumu ult, the Kennen ult coming on top, the AoE from the Viktor, the counter engage potential there from CFO is extremely high.
That's the thing, right? For the side of CFO, I mean, that huge AoE teamfight's going to be there. You'd pretty much burst out RNG's whole comp in one go. Even if they fall behind a little bit, this is a comp that has some comeback potential, to where for the side of RNG, again, it's a lot about Xiaohu being able to link up with bot lane and make sure his sides are doing well.
One thing I will say that I really like about support Sett when you are playing into Kennen is the disengage on the Kennen ult. If Kennen comes in on the flank, you can kind of sacrifice yourself as that support, dunk him out of the fight, keep your carries safe, create that separation. But CFO draft-wise are going to have windows. My big concern, though, is how will Rest hold up against Breathe if there's a lot of pressure up towards that top side. If Fiora can start to spread open the map, I don't think CFO's comp functions that well in a spread map situation where it's lots of individual skirmishes. They really want to be grouped up as a ball and combining all of those ultimates into one deadly team fight.
That's why I'm also going to look at how the laning phases of these players are going. The desk was hitting on it. These guys were known as lane kings back in the PCS. They pretty much have solid matchups across the board. So it's going to be about keeping RNG's laners down, tracking where Wei goes, because Wei needs to be the glue for RNG.
I mean, we're even seeing Grass Kennen. Ooh. That is about as lane focused as you could ever imagine. I really wonder where he's going to go with the build, but very atypical. Is paying respect to Breathe's Fiora and knows that he's going to be a beast.
Azael, Lyric, you're going to have to keep an eye on that top lane build from Rest as we load onto Summoner's Rift for the penultimate game of the day. CTBC Flying Oysters from Mulai made a massive statement on day 1, shocking everyone with a dominant win. And I will say, to build on the conversation we'll be having from draft, the Flying Oysters tend to win from strong objective control, from picking up CS leads, at least when it comes from the PCS. And let's see whether they can do that again. And as I just about jump over to my analyst, Prime Gaming is giving away 150,000 RP to multiple fans each day. There was way more zeros than I was expecting. Head over to primegamingworlds22.com to enter, and make sure you put in today's secret code. It's on screen. So for you second screen viewers, look at us, look at the screen, and type #Prime giveaway in chat to learn a little bit more. So, Lyric, I'm going to come back to you. Look a little bit at Flying Oysters. I think we like the draft. There's a lot of zone control. We see how the comp can play out, but crucially, you need to get to the point that those pieces can add up to make the Voltron to be able to take down RNG.
Exactly. That's why I'm looking at Gemini to do more of covering his lanes and kind of shadowing early on. Both of your side lanes have the ability to play aggressive, so I'm kind of curious to see where he wants to be proactive. When Shunn and Koala are bringing so much all-in potential, I would expect it to be down towards that bot side, especially because when you're going up against Sett, I mean, Sett's one of these champions who so liberally blows his flash to try to find all-ins on the enemy AD carry and trade flash for flash.
Oh, already going into a quick pause. We'll let you know as soon as we do find out anything about it. Not much has happened, thankfully, just yet. So I'm sure they'll be able to get this sorted out. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one, right? And I was just watching the top lane, in those early seconds here. Breathe already playing very aggressively as expected. Level 1 Fiora is actually so deadly. Being able to chase down and zone out Rest pretty effectively, trying to push him away from that XP as much as possible. We do have Viego obviously starting down on red, so expecting him to clear up towards top, and potentially, Breathe could have the wave bounced and maybe in an awkward spot for Rest where he could be pressured.
Rest is playing Grass with the Undying Kennen in a matchup where Breathe is going to be somewhat favored, especially if support comes. I think that was the statement that
Looks
we
like a
heard.
good hot dog. He's enjoying it.
Oh, man. America. Now, Lyric, I will ask, how much challenge or how much, how many answers are we going to need to see here from Flying Oyster, assuming Wei gets the pathing, starts bottom, heads top, that we need to keep an eye on track of to ensure that Rest doesn't immediately get in a difficult situation?
The thing I'm most afraid of for the side of CFO is if RNG starts playing both sides of the map, they actually do it quite typically where they'll even send like maybe Wei down to focus on setting up their bot side early on, but then Xiaohu is the one who's able to make those roams up towards top lane. So that's why I feel like for CFO, Mission's gonna have to be able to do a lot to make sure Xiaohu doesn't have those move timers. And then the vision around mid lane for CFO is really gonna have to be there.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's very difficult as Viktor to actually push freely into the Lissandra unless you know that your sides are covered. Because if the jungler could be in that side brush, it's so easy to set up the ganks as a Lissandra. So then you really can get pushed back under your tower. Also really fun to see how Ming is actually going to play out these lanes. Traditionally, so many Sett supports when they are playing Hextech Flash Traption or whatever it's called, but Hex Flash, we'll just trade out their Flash very early on and just try to get super, super aggressive and constantly threaten that from the brush because they do have a pretty powerful early couple levels here.
Can I build a little bit of numbers just into the backstory for Mission here? And I'm focusing a little bit on Flying Oysters to ensure that a lot of our viewers are a bit more clued up. But as far as the team goes, coming into the World Championship, they had the highest amount of damage percentage of any mid laner in the world for Mission. Can I ask you to guess how much of the 100% damage did Mission deal against 100 Thieves in their debut win here at the World Championship?
I'll go with 33.
Higher, 38% of his team's damage on the Viktor. The reason I highlight those numbers and I do talk about it is that was in a game where Shunn really stepped up, was shining, looked pretty good, and kind of stole the show a little bit. But ultimately, it was still that Viktor that was doing those heavy, heavy blows.
Well, and that's also been true, for them in regional play, is that, Mission was often doing the heavy brunt of the damage dealing in a lot of these fights. And Shunn, though, it's about his playmaking. It's about what he actually brings in these big moments of the fights, the fact that he is willing to play very aggressive. This rookie player being brought in, I think has shaped the team, pretty differently. Rest and Shunn, I think a lot of people are looking at kind of as these big stars because of their flashy moments, but Mission really is such a solid player and just brings that steady element that every single team needs.
Yeah, and I mean, Mission's actually always been like that going to the start of his career. Starting LMS 2016, I actually used to coach Mission when I was a coach in the LMS, and he's always been that standout piece where he's going to play the Azirs, the Victors. I remember even bringing out things like the mid lane Varus back in the day to be that huge, let's say, like laser for any team he's on to be built around.
Yeah, I mean, still also his 4th World Championship. Now, our referees and our technicians on stage are still triaging the problem. As soon as we are able to share more details with you, we will. And we are in touch with them and working on it. And I think turn our attention a little bit to RNG here. Now, after taking down Gen G in the manner that they did, the expectation is that this should be a clean clap. That's kind of what they're expected to do, anticipated to do, and we're seeing what sort of fight the Flying Oysters will put up.
Honestly, I feel like it's really hard to know what to expect from RNG because let's remember, going into play-ins, it's like, hey, maybe this team just goes undefeated. They ended up losing to DRX. They lost a game to DFM in their best of 5, and then coming into main stage, it's like, okay, maybe we don't have the highest hopes for RNG. Then they beat Gen G, who was almost everyone's tournament favorite, maybe coming in tied with JDG. And it seems like this team just keeps...
It's the best time for bold statements, Lyric. They just took down Gen G.
Jad already made the bold statement about RNG winning Worlds, so I feel like I can't take that one from him.
Well, Dagda made another one about
true.
the group, so.
Flaming hot take. We can actually see Dagda right now. He's shaking his head in approval. We won't let you,
thought they were
traitor. We won't let you let that one slide.
Oh man, I mean, it is one of those things that without taking away credit from the teams that did actually knock them down in play-ins.
Yeah,
I do think that sometimes some of the very top teams, LPL and LCK teams, put less focus on their preparation for play-ins than they do for the main stage. Right? They believe that their skills are going to carry them through that play-in stage, and they really focus forward towards some of these opponents that they think are going to be very deadly. And and that can cause trap games, right? You know, I'm willing to bet that they put a lot more prep for their Gen.G game than they did for their CFO game as well, because those are the teams that they really see, I think, as the massive threats in these events. So sometimes you can get caught out because the level between these teams, while it can be, you know, different, obviously, the talent, even on lower ranked teams, is incredibly, incredibly high. You know, and if you do make mistakes, if you don't respect the strength that these teams have, they can take you down.
From somebody who makes an incredibly fair, balanced, well-rounded statement to one of the flamiest, hottest takes I've seen on Analysis. Let's head to Dagda. Dash, can you remind everyone what Dagda said? Just because I'm having fun with this.
I forgot.
First of all, thank you very much, Trevor. For those of you who don't know, we have a direct eye line to the casters over there.
Yeah.
So it's nice to check in with them every once in a while. Nice little wave. Hi, gents. How you doing? Dagda, they asked me to remind everybody what you said, but I think it should just come straight from your mouth.
Flaming.
RNG are the greatest team to have ever existed.
All right, well, maybe while we play a game, production can go back and pull some replay footage of that flaming hot take, and we'll just let it play out on its own. I wanted to play a quick game. I don't know if you guys know this. Yeah, while we're waiting for, and don't worry, we'll update you with any updates on the pauses as it comes. What is this? In case we didn't have a pause graphic, you made one for us. Gotta love it. Okay, so did you guys know that there are 13 world champions playing at this tournament?
Okay.
Can you name all of them?
Yeah, that shouldn't be too hard.
Actually, let's just try and do it as a team. Because I actually haven't been given the names. This has only been delivered to me. There are 13 world champions. Well, let's write them down. So we'll start over here. Wait, who? Oh, you decided to go on your own. No, I think we should do it as a team. Because I'm worried if we...
Okay,
very
so
easy. I'll start taking notes. Okay, so FLICKR is in obvious first.
I'm starting from, like, really early on. So let's do 2013, like FLICKR Impact.
Okay, Impact.
They're both there.
The entirety of EDG.
Yeah, which is where I was going.
So I yoinked my answer from Rob.
All right. I just received an update that tournament officials have identified the problem.
This was a good idea.
I've also determined that we can resume play, so we're going to hand it back to the casters. We're going to ruminate on these 13 players. We'll come back and see if we got the answer right. Azael, world champion.
I didn't hear what they said. I was talking to producer.
I just heard Azael world champion. I wasn't listening either. So.
Azael world champion!
My ears perked up, you know.
To the caster desk.
True. Yes.
I'm still waiting to clarify exactly what the cause of the pause was, and if and when I'm able to share, I will do so. What I can say, New York, we're back on Summoner's Rift. Now, we haven't missed too much. The point I want to draw everybody's attention to is Wei sitting from that southern quadrant. We are anticipating him pushing towards that top lane, and Rest is running top lane Kennen. And as I'm about to get the update, Azael Lyric, bounce.
Yeah, I mean,
takes quick shot.
Breathe, stacking the wave, looking to push this up, and it's just going to be about can they actually time this wave, with any potential gank. Gemini, though, at the same time, is moving down towards bot, and they do have a level advantage. It feels like Gemini is anticipating a gank, he's not actually positioning to look for a gank of his own, but I think he was expecting that Wei might have done a 3 camp and then down towards bot instead of actually going for a full clear, which we know that he is. So the read there from Gemini, unfortunately incorrect for him, and will mean that he's going to fall a little bit behind the pacing of Wei.
And I think a lot of it goes to what you were saying as we went into that pause about, when you bring out the Sett, it's a lot about just kind of forcing these flashes, looking for these all-in windows. So maybe expecting Wei to be there to try to find that, but now Wei just going to play around the prio he has in topside to get a Scuttle Crab.
Well, Wei's going to be able to pick that one up, and I can confirm for everyone in home that tournament officials investigated a question around peripherals and are confident that play will be able to continue unaffected. So that is great news, as Wei is going to step into that northern quadrant. The wave is pushed into that Grasp of the Undying Kennen in the top lane, and there's already an early recall from Breathe, making his way back towards the lane. I can also let everyone know that Dagda just walked past the caster desk and gave us a big smile and kiss. He's so happy with how the conversation is played out. But what I will say is that for the Flying Oysters, these early minutes of laning phase is really going to draw my attention. Their composition, we talked about how it can have answers into RNG's comp. It needs to get to those stages of the game where their synergy can really be multiplicative.
Yeah, I mean, definitely having the comp there that's able to come together. The thing so far is that they've been able to get a ton of vision around their bottom lane because that's where they want to look for this aggression. When you have the Amumu, typically it's a lot about the all-ins for them as well.
Yeah.
But RNG have done a great job of tracking where Gemini is. They actually got a ward on his Raptor camp, so they know exactly that he's up towards that top side of the map already.
I mean, you can look at multiple wards up in that top side. You know, they know he's going to be clearing up towards there. They are going to be tracking him very, very effectively. Way now down on this bottom side. Looks like he wants to invade for the respawn of the Gromp, potentially, but Xiaohu's coming from mid. This is spotted, and it's going to push both Shunn and Koala back.
This is problematic. Way steps forward inside the mist. Xiaohu's holding on to the glacial path. Look, plate secured, minions denied. Shunn is already down 12 CS. It's a 500 gold lead for now. He will be able to make it back into lane with the help of Koala, level 4, but they are starting to get bullied and pushed around.
Absolutely, and if you look back towards mid lane, Mission has not been able to actually bounce the wave yet, so Xiaohu is going to be there just in time. You know, maybe you lose 1, 2, 3 minions off the wave, but like, who cares? It's not much of a cost there, so the timing on the roam, very good from Xiaohu. You know, able to sync up well with Wei, as we expect when he is on this Lissandra. He has such good move timings. He's very rarely punished from that.
Again, and it's one thing that I feel like we've seen RNG even improve on coming into Worlds is how much they've been linking up pre-10 minutes into the game. Gemini now trying to do the same for Mission, but he's going to be able to farm up just fine.
As it stands, junglers not being able to have a significant impact on the flow of the game. Wei, with the help of Xiaohu, managed to get a small CS lead for Shunn against Shunn in that bottom lane. GALA's starting to clear that wave and still pull a slight bit ahead, but as both top laners now nearing level 6, Rest is TP back into lane. I think it's very important to highlight Breeze still has his TP. That early shove, that early control allowed him to get back early and make it to lane, holding on to the summoner spell.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just really, really nice because I think because you are playing this mid lane to rage matchup, if you want to play it aggressively, it does mean putting yourself at risk. So if Gemini gets up there, he's still going to have the TP, assuming he can escape with the flash, you get right back. There's not going to be much of a punish. I do really favor holding on to the TP in situations where you can get the early bounce. Some players do really value the couple minions of experience that they'll lose, but for me, there's just such an opportunity cost to that because if you get ganked without TP, it's very, very punishing.
Yeah, you just fall way too far behind. But we also see on the opposite side of the map, CFO, looks like they're getting a dragon, maybe not uncontested as RNG's coming in.
Oh, look at the engage! They've got Xiaohu, but at what cost? Ming steps forward, Xiaohu's about to get dropped! First blood to Gemini! Wei and GALA stepping forward, white-blue guns chopping down and burning the flying oysters! 1, 2, a third is on the way! RNG looking for the fourth! Bandage toss! From the stolen Amumu, and Shunn's forced to flash.
RNG, they have the numbers, just still chasing Shunn down! Being able to secure the kill, and even Breathe getting involved. RNG bringing everyone to this fight.
RNG are relentless and wipe CFO off the map. Breathe on the roam there. The unexpected 5th member coming down for RNG. And he's able to even TP back up towards topside, catch the wave, and they're going to take another plate.
The initiation from the Flying Oysters felt so good. They caught Xiaohu, but it took so long to take him down from that self-cast ult that the rest of RNG rocked up, and then they Goomba stomped on the Flying Oysters.
Yeah, and we're going to see here, right, able to get the dragon, and I love what they do here because they pincer in on Xiaohu, who sure is able to buy a bit of time with the ultimate, but immediately goes down. They were still able to get enough done with the AoE damage coming out from the other members that once Wei gets the flash into the queue, he gets the first reset, and RNG are just able to keep running them down.
I mean, Wei playing this out so incredibly well. Breathe even arriving there at the end. And we can see back towards live, RNG even taking the Herald. So bad going to worse there for CFO. It was a good aggressive look, and I like the initial pincer, but it just, unfortunately for them, it took way too much time. You know, the self-cast ult for Lissandra, as you said, bought so much space, and now Gemini going to be forced to retreat out of his own jungle.
Caper's verdict is being held on to. Gemini trying to step forward there on a little bit of a invade mission. Xiaohu now somewhat being flanked, but as it stands, Flying Oysters down 1,400 gold. The one small saving grace, they did get that Ocean Drake, so it starts there. The problem they are going to have is a 2-0 to Aphelios that is up 17 CS in lane, and it's got all of the tools around him. If you have to try and get to Aphelios, you got to get through
Here's
Fiora,
problem number 2.
Viego rests. Flash is available to him, slicing Maelstrom as well. Jumped on, caught out, and goodbye, buddy. Get some sleep.
And for RNG, right, they saw, hey, CFO have control over bot side. Gemini's invading. All members are hovering around. Let's just get the hell out of there and go straight towards the opposite side. But Gemini still towards the bottom lane.
Yeah, and can they actually get something here? Koala does have the ulti. Mission's moving down. There is pressure on CFO to, at the very least, zone them off and try to take some plates. But will they commit to the play? Mission is actually recalling now, so they are going to bail out. It will just be the 1 plate. And Shunn will get that solo goal.
Azael, it's 2 plates secured in total for the Flying Oysters bottom. There's 1 plate secured top. It is, of course, traded 2 bottom, 1 top, respectively. But I think it is important to highlight is that it just drops there in favor of Breathe. That goal difference could be significantly higher without some of those plates secured. CS is as close as it can be in the middle of the top lane, but it's just Aphelios that they need to be careful of. As Xiaohu takes a chunk, Chaos Storm is down! Tick, tick,
Laser.
tick, tick! Boom! Mission solo kill Xiaohu!
Mission showing why he's
Oh! Family stepping forward, Koala's got chunked out, Mission's going low, no flash available to him, and GALA picks up the 6th. The pin against the wall! Gemini is going to be able to use the Keeper's Verdict. It misses, it whiffs! GALA sidesteps and will not be in more trouble.
Both these teams trading back and forth. Still, though, the benefactors might be CFO, because look at Shunn in the bottom lane. Rest as well able to get a wave pushed in on top side. So that fight offering CFO some relief.
Yeah, we need to see how much Shunn is actually going to get here. They're actually TPing down to answer. So Xiaohu moves down towards bot, as bot lane was covering mid there. So they're not going to give up that tower. Another plate was taken by Shunn, though. You can see only 2 plates remaining. And Xiaohu just staying around a really long time here. Gets hit by both sides of the laser. Flash forward. The ulti is dropped. He does have the stopwatch, but it is not enough. The gravity field, of course, is not actually stunning him up. But nicely played there by Mission, and then it's RNG on the response.
Yeah, Wei able to get involved here, and also gets locked down. It's GALA who actually comes in clutch as Wei.
Yeah, we can't watch Mission. We can't watch the replay. Mission is getting caught out, pulled back, punched in the face! And it's Ming that secures the 2nd of the game for himself. 7 kills to RNG. The soul is stolen. 5 seconds until the Infernal Drake spawns.
Yeah, and RNG have just committed to this lane allocation where they've kept GALA in mid. It's allowing for RNG to find these picks around the mid lane and into the enemy jungle. Sure, Shunn's been able to find some plates on bot, but with RNG dropping this Herald, they might be able to get even more.
Yeah, another couple of plates going their way, and meanwhile, the top lane, Rest is actually going towards a build that I am really not a fan of, which is actually the Riftmaker Kennen. Riftmaker Grass feels like you're building so heavily for the 1v1, in a 1v1 that you're not really even dominating, like you're already losing. Breathe already has the early mercs. He's well on his way to his mythic, and this does mean that your teamfight threat is going to be much lower than were you another mythic and another rune setup. But CFO looking to challenge here at the Dragon.
Yeah, they want to fight. Teleport's available.
Oh!
It's not though. Oh, the engage. Ming is burning down low. The bomb will pop him. Rocket jump forward. The Flying Oysters group up together, and Family, they win the fight. Family.
And RNG, get knocked down there. Nicely done by CFO. The great engage from Koala, setting it up. The bandage toss, flash forward, 4-man Amumu ulti was massive.
Azael, Flying Oysters want to win this game through fighting. They are willing to throw down, they are willing to engage. Despite being in the goal deficit, they stare RNG in the face and have chucked everything at them multiple times.
Absolutely, and I have so much respect for that. The fact that they do get pushed down here pretty early, and CFO just coming right back at RNG. And here it is one more time. Eyes on Koala, bandage tops, top of your screen. Uses Ming as the taxi for the 4-man ulti. Just beautiful. Unfortunately for them, they can't get much more.
No, and I mean, they do follow up, do try to jump in, but all they really get is summoners coming out from RNG. Still, though, that's going to be huge because it sets up potentially repeat play. Xiaohu!
Repeat play. No ulti available. Flash is, though, being held in place by the steadfast presence, smacked by a buckler. And Mission's too far, too long, and cannot get past the path. If you look at the minimap, there's no response here yet. Wei will slowly make his way towards the bottom lane, and all the vision investments up top.
And if you look at that vision investment up top, this is what is keeping Breathe safe. Look at this line of wards. This whole section is pretty much entirely covered there by RNG. giving him the safety to push up. Whether you're looking for a play over the wall with Hex Flash at the Baron Pit, that's covered. The Krugs are covered. Really, every angle of attack is keeping him safe.
Lyric, 14 minutes into the game, Tower First Blood secured by Flying Oyster. First Dragon secured by the Flying Oysters. They're only 1,000 gold down. It was 3,000 a moment or two ago. So that shutdown, those kills, the CS and the tower is really helping out the PCS representatives.
100%. And again, you look at their carries, they have a Viktor, they have something like a Tristana. They're going to have really solid damage as we progress further into this game. And even, we haven't even seen a true 5v5 yet when Azale was talking about kind of the AoE deathball comp that they have.
Absolutely. I mean, Rest, you get him in there. Whether I like the build or not, the Kennen is still going to add a lot of threat in on top if you can find that engage, if you can find the setup. But RNG are trying to set up this Fiora, trying to buy time, because the more pressure they get through this side lane, the more danger CFO are in. Rest is paying respect, though. Look at that. Lights out. He's got no vision in this area, and he's paying respect to the fact that multiple RNG members are missing from the map.
Azale, I love that you highlight it, and then even more that the observers show it. Koala, however, steps forward a little bit into the darkness. Throws out, goes to the sand, Mummy, the showstopper into the gravity field. It does not matter. The damage is so incredibly high.
Ming, are you kidding me? Slamming 4 members together, and RNG want even more. Rest coming here to defend, but RNG are crushing it on the back of their support.
The coordination in that play was just absolutely perfect. Able to take a mid lane turn off of that Red.
Oh, the Ring of Frost comes out. Xiaohu, one more shot. Won't have the damage.
They aren't able to get him, but you look on the mini-map, they at least are taking the Rift Herald. Breathe gonna go back towards topside, potentially gonna have a lot of threat on this turret as well. And we're saying, hey, CFO not that far behind in terms of gold. They're catching back up now, 4K gold lead, but this was just so beautiful coming out from RNG, going straight to Koala, and then the showstopper from Ming. 4 people locked down. Xiaohu immediately flashing in as well, Wei following up. There's just no hope.
I mean, this was just out of control from Ming. He saw the angle, repositioned himself, showstopper onto 3 more, facebreaker on all 4, hits the haymaker across the entire team, and everyone is piling in.
Look at that face!
And I love it because RNG are one of the most emotionless, indifferent teams we have. It's so rare to see them smile. So Ming knowing exactly what he's doing there.
That support set dealt more damage than Mission's Viktor. Now, to be fair, he was locked in place for a significant amount of time. But that was just good. It also felt a little personal. It did feel like, sit back down, little one. Let's show you how to team fight.
Exactly. I mean, Koala getting some big engages, and Ming, not to be outdone, finds an even bigger one here, and has a lot of gold in pocket now as well. 2, 2, and 7 has picked up a lot of kill gold, a lot of assist gold. Ming is becoming like a true tank almost. He's building towards the Mythic, already has the Moon Pants in, as I like to call him, and he's going to be tough to take down.
Yeah, and especially as you can see on the minimap, he's actually kind of posturing around top side. Looks like RNG potentially wanting to threaten up towards top lane with threat of an engage, while RNG, again, kind of play 2 sides of the map at once. You have Xiaohu and Wei playing off to one side, while Ming being this in-between man playing with Breathe and GALA to make sure CFO can't set any plays up.
Now, we are moving towards that 20-minute mark, playing for the Mountain Soul, and RNG have ballooned the gold lead to nearly 3,000. Shunn has been able to pop down the second tower in favor of the Flying Oyster. This will unlock, however, what looks to be an uncontested Drake, the second of the game. For Flying Oysters, they've shown that they can win some of those team fights, but ultimately, RNG were a little bit distracted by Dragon earlier, got somewhat surprised. Outside of that, it has been RNG favored, so we're looking again more. We need to see Rest get involved. He hasn't necessarily joined for those 5v5s.
Yeah, he absolutely hasn't. He's been kind of pinned down in that 1v1, building for the 1v1 as well, but Wei has just been having a monster game. It's another Viego really going off. You look at the goal difference here, it's absolutely enormous between these 2 junglers. Nearly 2,000 in the lead. Just in that matchup.
Yeah, and he's the big one that they're playing for right now. Still hasn't made his way to that second item, but has Rift Herald in pocket, so RNG still going to be looking to balloon that gold lead. Breathe should be able to get a top lane turret just either by himself or if RNG make a slight pivot towards top lane. So I'm kind of interested to see where they opt into using this one. With Dragon not really up anytime soon, you can't even really use it to get any setup. So it feels like they're going to have to start kind of conglomerating to one lane and get a good push going.
I'd like to see them set up efficiently position on one side, you know, and then try to push up on that side with multiple members, try to get a crash on a tier 2, you know, extend their gold advantage through that. Because as you say, you know, there's no more easy towers to grab. There's no tier 1. There's no dragon up right now. He's going to have to drop it before that. If you want to get some value from it, it's going to take that pre-preparation of clearing out those areas so you're not actually getting flanked as you go to those more dangerous tier 2s.
Yeah, and it looks like RNG maybe going to look to do that on the bottom side. Everyone from RNG is starting to make their way down here right now. For the side of CFO, this actually has been one of the points where they have been able to find some advantages or some picks into the game, is punishing Xiaohu in sides. He does have his flashback up now in Zanya's, and RNG are actually going to give Xiaohu the support he needs this time and hunt Koala.
Oh, that is a sad-looking mummy. Gets rooted in place, commits the bandage toss. Death Ray's fired. This is a split pincer move, and the Flying Oysters back away.
But RNG just playing it out so well. You know, it's, as I say, they need to invade one side, so they invade this section of the map. They start to clear out the vision. Now they have an easy setup to actually go over towards this tier 2 and drop it very, very safely. It's textbook stuff from RNG by pre-prepping that jungle, by clearing out the wards. They know they can no longer be flanked. They're not really in any danger taking this sort of a path whatsoever.
And don't forget that RNG are one of the most prolific teams at 1-3-1. Kelsey Moser would love to hear me saying that out on air. And they're playing the map, pushing the wave, setting up the vision. Then you have GALA, 4-0-4. Out of his team's 11 kills, he's been involved in 8. He's sitting on that Bloodthirster Gale Force and chunking down the Oysters.
I mean, Xiaohu is hanging on the side here. It looks like he is looking for a potential angle to threaten them back.
Oh, and I feel like CFO, though, might need to find an angle themselves because Breed's pushing in mid.
How?
Breed's pushing in mid right now, but with Mission back, they weren't able to force the 5v4. For the side of CFO, you have to overload one lane to not let RNG play out through both.
There were teleport wards available. They were not used. Rest has his TP available. Mission has his TP available. RNG just brute forced the bottom lane to take another tower.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great setup, though. Credit to them, you know, being able to clear out the vision. You know, you look at all the vision now that is littered in this jungle. This used to be CFO's jungle, is very clearly now belonging to RNG, but I do have to agree, you know, at a certain point, CFO have to pull the trigger. You know, they are built for 5v5. Kennen has not really been involved in any sort of team play yet this game, and Mission in trouble again.
Lost his splash. Gravity Field is dropped. Xiaohu's arrived. Buster shot buys time, but Ming and the RNG Dynasty are not done. There's one back from Shunn. Rest will get popped. That slicing Maelstrom cut through nothing. And 4 members of RNG alive.
And it all comes from Wei and Ming, setting it all up as a jungle support duo. Now they're going to keep up full control of the bot side jungle, and this mid lane tier 2, it's going to be gone.
RNG looking incredible in this one, giving not much room for CFO to really get anything done. It's now 6,000 gold lead here. Wei pushing the pace of the game just so incredibly well. You can see how confident he is to just flash follow on that play, knowing all of the team is collapsing. They're all going to be there behind him.
Yeah, and it was just a great follow-up of the communication between him and Ming. Xiaohu even able to buy a lot of time once he got involved. And sadly, I mean, you've been hitting on the rest build quite a bit, Azale. We saw not really a whole ton of damage able to come out from that Kennen. Oh, Ming, maybe looking for it again.
Oh, once again, Koala steps forward. Look at that shield. Ming stays alive. Moonlight Vigil plus the damage from Breathe is enough to shut down Koala.
Xiaohu TP.
Backpacking. There's the engage from Wei. Gravity Field manages to find a stun, but Gemini's forced to flash and run for his life. The flamethrower's burning. Xiaohu's Ring of Frost sets up one, and Breathe runs down another. 16 kills to 5. And RNG peel into the jungle.
Ming baiting Koala into the play. They're able to find the engage, and now this should be barren for RNG. I love the setup, getting vision down first. They're even going to send Xiaohu to keep pushing in topside because they know CFO have no way to answer this play.
Absolutely nothing they can do about it. Red-white guns as well for GALA, so it's going to go down so incredibly fast. Rest going to try to take a dragon back, but Kennen will do this so slowly that I don't even know if they'll be able to secure it. With Shunn down there, they should be able to, and they will at least get a bounty off of that, but it's feeling like too little, it's feeling like too late.
Yeah, and we're going to go straight into the replay here. Ming hoping to find the engage onto Shunn, isn't able to connect that E, and then Koala, I'm not quite sure why he went with that, maybe preemptively thinking if Ming finds the engage, leaves himself in a terrible position, and then with RNG able to follow up, look at Xiaohu coming on the TP flank is, we actually have something else not going on, and then able to run down the rest of CFO's members and just look at it. Xiaohu going in on one angle and then breathing away on the other.
Yeah, it's the coordination and the collapse from RNG, and you have to love how active it feels like Breathe is being in the game. You know, Breathe always there to make the collapse, to come in, look for the play. Keeping a good attitude about it.
You have to.
Having a laugh. Yeah, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And that's speaking from experience here, Trevor.
Sale, I'll give you a hug later, my friend. The one thing I will say about that laughter that we do see out of the Flying Oysters, and also I think there's zero hesitancy. This is a team that wants to win the game by starting the fights, by being proactive. They're not waiting for a mistake to happen. Now, unfortunately for them, it has pushed them further and further behind. As they have repeatedly committed to engages over the last, say, 10, 12 minutes, ultimately they've been punished. Ultimately, the counter blows from RNG have been sublime, and that's why they find themselves in the hole, but they do want to win the game on their terms.
Absolutely. And you know, I talk about it a lot with waiting to lose versus actually playing to win, right? And CFO are definitely here playing to win, trying to find these fights, because if you sit back, RNG won't allow you to stabilize the gold lead. RNG will take over your jungle, they'll take away all your camps, they'll slowly bleed you out of the game, and that's no way to try to come back. So CFO trying to continue throwing those haymakers, hoping that one will land, but RNG has just been more than equal to the task.
And this Kennen, which was blocked in, I think on red side 10, not having the impact. It was into the Fiora. The Grasp of the Undying build hasn't built out. And the only reason I do focus in on that, he has not been able to really join. The team hasn't been set up. Now, admittedly, the game plan, Vision, they've been bullied and pushed back, right? But it is one of those things that we saw the potential, and it hasn't been realized.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those rare games where you're not actually playing against Exhaust as Kennen. Almost always you are going to see Exhaust when you are playing Kennen. So, you know, to me, this was an opportunity to try to go for a very Glass Cannon style build, really capitalize on the fact that there's not an Exhaust, get in there with a flat spell pen and try to erase some RNG backline, but it's not the direction that he did choose, and RNG are pressing.
And I even just love the way RNG are playing it out since Kennen hasn't been able to get involved, right? We see them kind of ping-ponging between waves, Breathe, walks mid, pushes it in, walks spot, and just pulling the members of CFO around their base.
Lyric, is this the RNG you were anticipating? They're pushing into the base. After the look in play-ins, there were some question marks. There were some flaming hot takes made. They took down RNG 2 days ago. They're on the verge of stopping the Flying Oysters, and they've already broken into the middle and the bottom lane. Inhibitors are falling, and RNG currently look unstoppable this game.
Yeah, RNG, again, they've just looked so good coming into groups. They've retooled, they're playing more aggressive, they look incredibly confident, and they're sticking with champions that they know very well. I mean, pretty much across the board, this is a signature champion for each of the players on the Rift, and they're just making it work.
Now it feels like, you know, RNG just trying to make sure of everything here, cross the T's, dot the I's. It looks like they want to play potentially here for the Mountain Soul, eliminate any sort of a chance that CFO would have to come back, because it's very difficult to see when you're already down this much, ever bursting through that. So I do think CFO will have to kind of choose their moment, try to make their stand, look for some sort of a fight, and pray that by some miracle it can go their way.
Who's good at math here? Is that nearly 2,000 gold in bounties just on the members of RNG's heads? It is close to that.
You're a glass half full kind of guy.
Oh, I'm a silver linings kind of guy. Ultimately, though, with 2 lanes of supers, 1:40 until that Mountain Soul, and now rest. Don't get put to sleep, my friend. You've been jumped on by way of the glacial path into the Ring of Frost. That slicing Maelstrom does naught to stop Royal.
And CFO, I mean, they can't even leave their bases. RNG control absolutely everything, and now with one member down, it looks like they have the confidence to push into the base and try and finish this game off.
Oh, how is this going to end? Mission stepping back. Steadfast presence would delay any further engage, but Ming's the man that started it all and oftentimes ended every skirmish. Showstoppers available to him. He's looking for a ride to go forward. Also watch Koala's Amumu on the right-hand side, sitting next to that Nexus turret. RNG, they're ushering the minions forward. The top wave is about to fall.
And Breathe has already knocked down the final inhibitor tower there. You know, they are moving up towards that last inhibitor. Shunn is pushed out.
Rocket jumps on cooldown. That's not available. Flash and cleanse is. He's going to step forward. That's the engage. Koala goes forward.
Oh, Xiaohu
goes the Sand Mummy. It doesn't matter. Shunn, however, has taken down Ming. The Chaos Storm is burning. Here comes Rest. No Maelstrom available to him, but GALA does what? What? Flash Gale Force into 4, and the Flying Oysters are running for their lives.
GALA with another massive play, and now Xiaohu back in the fight to follow up. CFO are falling one by one.
GALA grabs the win on the front foot as as the engage ADC 4-0-12. Royal, never give up. We'll take down the Flying Oysters. And listen to the fans in the crowd. That was an entertaining game and one in which RNG demonstrated their fighting prowess.
And I'm just so happy to see this RNG at the World Championship, especially GALA making plays like that. International fans know GALA as this big playmaker, dealing all the damage, high plays. Didn't have, the most standout season in the LPL, but here at Internationals is where GALA always steps up and shows his best.
He literally cosplayed Kai'Sa with Aphelios.
That's everything.
Setting himself up. He doesn't even need the plasma. He just flashes on in.
I mean, when you zoom out and look at the game as a whole, I think it is fair to say RNG were expected to be the better team, expected to outperform. I do appreciate the way in which the Flying Oysters approached the game, but ultimately, almost every skirmish in the mid-game was just counters.
Absolutely. I mean, RNG, better team play, Breathe, getting control of that top lane. I think there was hope for CFO if this grasp Kennen could somehow have paid off in the 1v1. If he really controls that lane, is locking down the Fiora, but it just didn't happen. And Breathe was able to be more active on the map, was able to group up with the team when they actually looked for those skirmishes. There were some very big bright spots from, I think, Koala in particular. Found some great ultimates on the Amumu that did set up his team for a couple of skirmish wins. But overall, it was RNG working incredibly well together, as we expect. I just think RNG, when they are playing at this level, and Xiaohu is playing a facilitator, they're so hard to beat. This guy is everywhere. He's setting up the carries. And how good are GALA and Breathe as players to set up?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people coming into Worlds are like, oh, this RNG won MSI. And it's like, no, let's remember, this RNG didn't. They had been in the top lane. This RNG needed time to build up and honestly hit this level of stride that I feel like we're seeing here at the World Championship. And it feels like they finally are reaching that upper echelon.
I mean, really fantastic performance. It will be very interesting to see how the rest of the group plays out. I do have to give you guys an update. If you can't make it to San Francisco for the finals, you can watch it on the big screen, your friends and family at select theaters near you. Use the QR code there to grab your ticket. It's somewhere there. I can't see it. There's too many things. Check it out, reserve your seat, then join us over at the State Farm Analyst Desk. Actually, listen to them first, then go get it.
A+ handwork there, quick shot. Absolutely love it. RNG bring the Flying Oysters back down to earth. Now they are the sad oysters, according to Chronicler here. Quite a showing out of RNG. I do appreciate that from them as well.
Good job, crowd.
I feel like most oysters people see in their lives are sad.
Really?
They're almost all dead, Dash.
Okay,
you don't see many
wow,
live
take
oysters.
this to a darker place, Chad. Thank you so much. Let's talk about how RNG got it done. We said that the early game would be important for both of these squads, and it very much was, because we saw skirmishing very early on and a ton of kills going the way of RNG. But when it comes to the player that catalyzed so many of those kills, it is our 1+ OP player of the game, Ming.
It is the Ming VP once more coming through for RNG. This guy has been absolutely crucial to RNG's success for years now, and you could see it in this game as well. It feels like Ming has been unlocked once more since we've had this move from enchanters over towards engaged supports. We saw him on the Leona, now we're seeing on the Sett as well. These setups for the squads were impeccable, consistently finding 2-3 members all the time and putting them in their place for RNG.
And you don't see support Sett that often, especially when it's not paired with Kalista, because when you don't have that out button, it's such an unforgiving pick to pilot, but he always found winning fights. So even if he'd die after going in, the rest of his team was always there to clean up.
And what terrifies me looking at this RNG is there was also a brief win condition in this game. It wasn't needed. It's like, you go hiking and you're like, I'm gonna pack well. And then you end up only needing like a bottle of water. And you still have like your energy bars. And you got like a whole set of gear ready to use it. And you just never get the opportunity.
Yeah, but you should continue to pack that way.
Oh, yeah.
Hiking tips
Well,
for
they
everybody,
will.
all right? Pack for the worst of scenarios and hope for the best. Ming here putting on a stellar performance to push RNG to another win in the group stage. So I really only have one question left, and that's to Dagda. How are you feeling now about your Flaming hot take.
They are the best third place team I've ever seen. I think, honestly, for RNG, I'm super excited to see them kind of bring this back, right?
Yeah.
I genuinely was worried when I saw them play, and we saw the drafts that were coming out, like GALA, the Vibe. Oh my God.
There it is.
That wasn't looking so hot. But no, genuinely, I think they've really stepped up. It feels like they're going back to comfort, even though we don't traditionally see things like the Viego. It's always been a very strong pick for Wei. He's performed magnificently on it. And I think the big step up for me was our Oppo player of the game. It was Ming. The fact that this guy's able to get out and start roaming around is absolutely incredible.
So you're backpedaling?
No.
They're still further.
No, did you not hear him say? He said they're still going to end third. That was what he claimed. Yeah.
Well, look, maybe it's not third in the groups. Maybe it's just third in the whole tournament.
Oh, there we go.
That's a new flaming hot take. RNG at least top 3 in the tournament, all the way to the semifinals. Now, earlier during the pause, we had mentioned that there are 13 world champions competing here on the stage at Worlds. I just wanted to let you know that we're not going to let that disappear. We will get back to that at some point because as soon as the camera, we did, but we don't have time to go over that right now, Jat. When the cameras went off, Jat literally rattled a whole bunch of them off, and we hit all 13. We'll prove that to you a little later on. Now, as we've seen from our crowd here today, New York City is the perfect place to capture the rush of this tournament. And we're getting a behind-the-scenes look at the opening feature shoot on the streets of NYC, brought to you by OnePlus.
See it's over if I'm breathing, racing to the moonlight and I'm speeding. I'm headed to the stars, ready to go far. We'll start walking. Don't ever say it's over if I'm breathing, racing to the moonlight and I'm speeding. I'm headed to the stars, ready to go far. We'll start walking.
Red Bull gives you wings.